2 years ago, I refinished the wheels on my 94 Land Cruiser, right over there in my garage, using these aerosol paints. First, I'll give a quick rundown of how I painted the wheels, and then I'll show the strange issues that are happening to the paint after 2 years. They were heavily corroded to begin with, so I had them sandblasted first. Next, I cleaned them all up with soapy water and let them dry. Then I coated them with Duplicolor self-etching primer. And they actually looked pretty good after 2 light coats of the Army Green self-etch primer. But I wanted to give them a silver OEM look, and surface imperfections really show up underneath silver paint. So I used Duplicolor filler primer to fill in all of the scratches and tiny nicks in the surface. And then sanded the surface smooth with 220 and 400 grit sandpaper. And decided I'd try an experiment. Rather than masking off the inset areas to spray them a darker color, I tried brushing on some different paints to test their self-leveling capability and compatibility with the aerosols. After finding the products that worked together, I painted the wheels silver with VHT paint. Then I used gloss black Rust-Oleum and a small brush to hand paint the recessed area, followed by Duplicolor gloss wheel coating. And I was really happy with the way they turned out. So I let them sit in my hot garage in the middle of August to cure for 10 days. And applied a coat of Carnauba wax before taking them to a shop to have tires mounted. The mounting machine scratched up a couple of the wheels, so I sprayed some aerosol paint into the cap and touched them up with a brush. And they looked so good. Then I refinished the weathered center caps to match, and used the gloss black Rust-Oleum once again, and hand painted the Toyota logos with a tiny paintbrush. And finally finished them with the Duplicolor wheel coating gloss clear, and protected them with the Carnauba wax as well. And that was 2 years ago. It's been sprayed with fluid film and through a salty Ohio winter. And halfway through that first winter, about 6 months after painting, I noticed something strange was happening to the paint near the center of the wheel. I could barely see tiny cracks in the surface of the paint, although the paint still felt smooth to the touch. And that brings us to now, where even more cracks have appeared, as well as something else strange. So they look pretty good from 5, even 2 feet away. But if I get really close, there, you can see the tiny cracks. Sometimes they're not as easy to see, depending on the light. There's an actual gouge in the surface. I think I might have dropped a lug nut there. Here's where the tire machine scraped the lip. I had originally touched this up, but it's starting to flake off some more. So my first thought is maybe the wheel is seeing heat from the brakes and hub, and ever so slightly expanding when getting warm and then contracting when it cools down. But look at this. The center cap is doing the same thing, and it's plastic, not aluminum. And it's not like I'm seeing heat from a bad wheel bearing or something at that one wheel. The back one is doing the exact same thing, even at the very outer edge of the wheel. And if I look at the spare, it hasn't even been used. It looks good at first, but upon closer inspection, it also has these tiny cracks. Although they're not as bad, they seem a lot lighter. And over on the passenger side, because it's right-hand drive, this wheel is actually doing something else weird. If you look really close up, it has a weird wrinkle texture, and that is for me. I actually hit the bottom edge of the spray can right here when I was painting the wheel. On this spoke, it starts out with the wrinkle texture, and then as you move out, it turns into the tiny cracks like the other wheels have. There are no cracks in the paint on the center cap though, although it does look a little rough under the clear coat, maybe like 120 grit sandpaper, but only close up. When I'm a couple feet away, I don't notice it. And the last wheel, this one isn't too bad. No wrinkle texture, and there are some of the cracks but they're not as bad as some of the other wheels. But notice there are zero issues with any of the gloss black inset areas on any of the wheels. They're still smooth, glossy, and there are no cracks or wrinkling. So the experimental part of this project has been a total success. So maybe there was a compatibility issue with these two enamels. Some of this paint is like 15 plus years old by now, so maybe the age of the VHT silver paint caused some of the wrinkling and cracking. If you're an expert on automotive paint and you know why the wheels did this, let me know in the comments. Yeah, unfortunately they're not perfect, but now they match the rest of the vehicle, and that's fine with me because an 80 series Land Cruiser was meant to be driven. Thanks for watching.